this week. Kev, how about you?
Oh, I got a few more that were pretty big. The Jack Doyle, he's out.
Yeah, actually, I already went over the Doyle one already.
Okay, you did? Okay. And then did you go over Heuerman?
No, I didn't get the Heuerman one.
Yeah, Heuerman is out for the season as well. That's the one I meant to say. And he cracked his ribs, actually. So he's Jeff Heuerman was a beast for the Denver Broncos. You know, that tight end really was a big fantasy impact this year. You know, a lot of people had him starting in leagues. So Jeff Heuerman is out. Yes, you're right about Marvin Jones. He is now finally on IR and screwed. So that's all I have. I thought this week wasn't terrible for injuries, but it wasn't great. You know, Melvin Gordon's the biggest name, I guess. I don't think many people are starting Derek Carr or Andy Dalton, I hope. Kenyon Drake, yeah, but I think he's coming back right away. But yeah, so we've seen worse for injuries. I'm going to get started here with the waiver wire, Dave.
Sounds good. Cody
Kessler, it looks like he's going to be starting for anybody stuck starting Blake Bortles, any dual quarterback leagues or deep 14, 16 team leagues. You can Blake Bortles, I'm not sure he's worth holding on to anyway, but Cody Kessler is named the starter. They also fired their offensive coordinator this week as well. And, you know, the Jaguars' offense has been terrible. So, you know that it was time for a change there. It looks like Austin Eckler is the guy you want to pick up for the Chargers, only owned in about 40% of leagues. But in most of my leagues, he's owned. So you might want to pick up Justin Jackson. He's the other guy. He was a rookie draft pick out of Northwestern, and he's the running back for the Chargers. That's going to take some of Melvin Gordon's carries. Now, when Melvin Gordon missed a game earlier this year, Austin Eckler was, you know, by far got more carries. But now it's later in the season. You know, they're probably going to give more running backs the option as well because they don't want Eckler injured, and Justin Jackson knows the playbook better. Josh Allen for Buffalo if you're desperate. He actually had a pretty good game last week. It was pretty amazing. I have Matt Lacoste as a tight end to pick up for Heuerman. Now, I think the Heuerman injury is going to spread out the ball a little bit more. But if you really want to take a shot, you can get Matt Lacoste from Denver. David Moore from the Seahawks has been having some great games, so he's a must-own, I think. Calvin Ridley, if he's on the bench, he got 13 targets. Sorry, not on the bench. If he's on the waivers, he got 13 targets in a TD last week. That's a lot of targets. He's really starting to take over for what Sanu had. You know, Sanu is kind of getting downgraded a little bit. Jermaine Kearse, 12 targets in a TD. He's the main guy for the Jets. It seems. Anua's okay, but Kearse has just been really picking it up lately. John Ross, he should be owned by now. If anybody has, Green, AJ Green. Chris Herndon, you've said this before for the Jets is big. Michael Roberts is a tight end for Detroit that I think might get some more targets now that Marvin Jones is out. And Adam Humphries, from a wide receiver from Tampa, he's just been catching a lot of balls. Small guy, number 10. He's been he's got really a high floor, it seems. So let's take a look at Adam Humphries. He might be able to net you 10, 12 points. Who do you got, Dave?
All right, the guy I have, actually, we forgot to talk about, he's not injured per se, but he might be suspended for this upcoming game. Leonard Fournette might be suspended for throwing punches.
He is. Sorry, I should have mentioned that too. He is suspended. I just saw that about an hour or two ago.
Okay, so he was going to appeal, but so you're going to want to pick up Carlos Hyde or TJ Yeldon. They're saying Hyde's going to probably get the majority of the carries, so the guy you want to pick up this week would be Carlos Hyde from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's be a guy you want to be taking a look at to pick up to replace Fournette since he's going to be suspended. Another guy that just came off the IR is going to be Rex Burkhead. Some people might have dropped him and forgetting about him. They do have Sonny Michael there, but Sonny Michael did get injured in this past game. He did come back, but he was banged up in this past game. So he's another guy you want to take a look at as well. Michael struggled to come off the field after a hit by the Jets, but he did return in the second half and scored a touchdown. So he's probably going to still get a majority of the carries. But Burkhead might be a speculative ad if you're looking at adding another running back.
Yeah, if I'm a Sonny Michel owner, I'm a little bit more nervous. Definitely James White took a hit these last few weeks, and I'm an owner of his in a couple leagues. But Michel, you still hope he gets the majority of the carries, and Rex Burkhead's going to back him up. But we'll see how that comes to fruition because it's Belichick, right?
Exactly. You never know with the New England Patriots running backs in Belichick. Another guy I had was Nyheim Hines. Mac left last week as well due to a concussion. Mac is very injury prone as well. So if people dropped Hines or Wilkins, Hines is going to be the main guy though, and especially in PPR leagues. He had 9 carries for 28 yards while adding 2 catches for 22 yards after Mac left this past week. So if Mac doesn't play, definitely look at picking up Hines for this upcoming week for someone to plug in. Josh Reynolds, the Rams are back off a bye. We talked about him previously. So if no one still does have him, you want to definitely pick him up and get him in there. Josh Doxson, guy we forgot about lately, but seems to be the preferred target for Colt McCoy. After McCoy came in for Alex Smith in Week 11, Doxson was targeted 5 times of McCoy's 12 throws, and then he was targeted 10 times this past week with 6 grabs for 66 yards. So Doxson is another guy you want to take a look at. And then for the 49ers, actually, Danny Pettis, a guy earlier in the year that we really liked as a rookie, but Goodwin is out. But likely to return this week, and Garcon's going to be out and possibly going to sit this week again. He might miss a few more games as well, so Pettis might be a nice speculative ad for down the stretch as well. Nice young rookie receiver who's been coming on lately as well. He had 4 grabs in Week 11, and then he has been getting more targets as well. He had 77 yards this past week on the 4 catches, so definitely a guy you want to take a look at picking up as well. And then my boy Herndon, like Kia was saying, he had his rookie new career high in receptions, 7 receptions, 8 targets, and 57 yards. So good all-around week for him, and he's only been getting more and more targets as the weeks go on due to the very thin receiving core for the Jets. But then Kirsten was another one that Kia had talked about as well.
Yep. You covered it really well, and obviously, without the buys, hopefully you're not having to pick up a ton of people here. In the leagues you're desperate in, you might want to. If you're a Melvin Gordon owner, you better pick up somebody. But, like we said, these are more for the desperate teams out there trying to make the playoffs in one last stretch. Let's get into breakout players. I will start out, and I have Emmanuel Sanders is my first one versus the Bengals. He seems to be getting a lot of targets there. Without Heuerman, obviously, I think Sanders is going to get even more touches now, and I definitely think Sutton, man, he'll get some more too. But he had a really bad couple fantasy weeks here, so as a Cortland Sutton owner, I'd be a little bit nervous. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, I think, versus the Cardinals. I think this is one of those bounce-back Green Bay games that they must win and must dominate to shut up the critics like Colin Cowherd and many other. He sure has a few things to say about the Packers, doesn't he? But,
I know.
But I think he's a guy to pick up. Peterson's going to be on. Patrick Peterson's probably going to be guarding their top receiver, Adams. So I think Valdez-Scantling's a good little one right there. Kenny Galladay versus the Rams. The Rams, they do get Talib back, but he's just coming back. He's probably going to be a little rusty himself. The Rams they've been kind of bad against the pass lately. Cameron Brate versus Carolina. And Carolina's second worst versus tight ends, as we discussed a little bit last week. And so now that O.J. Howard's out for the season, Jameis Winston loves Brate. He's going to get a lot more targets. And Chris Carson, I have, versus San Francisco's banged-up team. I think that, I think that San Fran has just looked terrible on defense. And now that they got rid of Foster for a domestic violence thing, they have no tight ends there. So no middle linebacker. I think Chris Carson's going to have a hell of a game against the San Francisco 49ers. Eric Ebron is the man now, and I like him versus Jacksonville. He's going to get some targets due to, some of their great secondaries like Ramsey is going to be on T.Y. Hilton. I think Ebron's going to have a huge game against Jacksonville. Josh Jackson, as Dave said, versus Philly's banged up deep. Their secondary is so banged up. You thought that the Giants would have scored more points against them, but they didn't. But I like Josh Jackson. Like Dave said, Colt McCoy's probably favorite target. Who do you have for breakout players, D Nasty?
I like a lot of the same guys you did, Kiev. I do like the Carson pick a lot. One of my boys, Chris Herndon, I like him to be a breakout player this week against the Titans. Titans didn't look very good tonight against Watson and the Texans, so I do like Herndon. He's been playing better every week. I like him as a breakout. I like the Carson pick that you had. I do like, actually, this is a very deep sleeper, Trey Quinn. He's been starting for the Redskins, actually, while Crowder's been out. And then him and Doxson saw a lot of targets, and Trey Quinn did have a touchdown this past week as well. So he's a rookie 7th-round draft pick. He's Mr. Irrelevant, but actually he set lots of records at SMU, and he's a great breakout player for this week, I think. Trey Quinn for the Redskins, a wide receiver for them. He's my deep sleeper pick for this week. Josh Reynolds, I like him against the Lions, and I like the Kenny Galladay pick as well. They're very thin at receiving core, so he's going to be their number one. The only thing I worry about is him getting double teamed, though, possibly. It's the only thing I worry about there. I do like the Browns. Mayfield's been on a roll. I like Jarvis Landry. Like I said last week, I'm still waiting for him to break out. I'm looking for him to break out possibly this week against the Texans. Jarvis Landry's underachieved the past 2-3 weeks, so I think he's due for a breakout one of these weeks, and I think this week's going to be the week. I do like the Colts running backs as well against the Jaguars. Jaguars did give up quite a few rushing yards this past week to the Josh Allen of all people. He had almost 100 yards against the Jaguars. So I do like Hines or Mack, depending on who's playing in that matchup. Otherwise, Hines could have quite a few catches as well. I do like the Bills, actually, and Josh Allen. Josh Allen looked good this past week, and he's playing a poor Dolphins D. I do like them, and I do like a couple Bears this week, actually, as well. I like Miller and Cohen against the Giants.
Oh, yeah, that's right, the Giants. I think that Tariq Cohen should definitely catch some passes there. Anthony Miller should as well. The Giants, definitely not that good at D, and their offensive line's terrible. If you have any IDP players, it'd be great to own any of the Bears this next week. Akeem Hicks or, of course, Khalil Mack, which is probably already owned. But the Bears defense is going to probably get all over Eli this week. Getting into the nasty sleeper of the week, mine is, it's Kenny Galladay. A lot of people use Galladay as sometimes a flex player or they keep him benched because they have better players. But I think Kenny Galladay is going to be a wide receiver 1 this week. I really believe he's going to have that big of a week. Matthew Stafford, he needs to win a game here. They're desperate. I think he's going to get a lot of targets here against the Rams. They're going to be throwing because the Rams are going to be leading. So he's my nasty sleeper of the week.
My nasty sleeper of the week this week is going to be Josh Rosen. I'm going against my team, the Packers, but the Packers' whole secondary is injured. The D-line is injured. Their offensive line is injured. They're just in poor shape right now for the Packers. So I look for Josh Rosen to have a good day against the Packers.
Josh Rosen, ooh, that's a scary one, man. That's a really nasty one. Yeah, so I appreciate that.
That's why I break out the nasty players.
That's right. That's the nastiest sleeper I've heard in a while. So I had a pretty bad one the other week, but I think I hope you're right. It'd be cool if Rosen's able to actually get this Cardinals team going. I mean, they did pretty good against the Chiefs. So when they went to Kansas City, so maybe that's going to happen. Anything else you want to add, Dave?
One late injury note too. Evan Ingram, tight end for the Giants, actually he didn't play this week in warm-ups. He actually hurt a hammy, so Rhett Ellison might be a nice pickup if you're looking for a tight end this week. He was a late one that I forgot to add in there, but Evan Ingram, he screwed me in a couple of my leagues this week. They didn't announce that he was out until after the first quarter of the game, so hopefully he didn't hurt you guys as well. But that's a guy you want to keep an eye on this week as well.
Absolutely. And make sure you're watching Fournette. He appeals his suspension, I'm sure. He'll have till Wednesday. They'll figure it out if he's able to play or not. So you know how the appeals process